We're on.
Okay, so going back to the example that you used, I think that's definitely a good perspective. Um, because when I said that I was on the cruise, I did 3 nights of the performance interpreting, and that was my target audience, and it felt comfortable. You know, I could tell by people's faces in the audience the kind of reaction. You know, so it felt like I was doing a good job. And there was another day where I did on deck belly flop competition for one of the consumers. My target audience was the crowd. It was lively. All my signs were big and out. Again, yeah, well, that's what I need a big sign comfortable. Didn't have any feelings of like judgment or anything like that. It was, it just, yeah, that's definitely a good perspective, and I wrote that down. Target audience.
I have one more question for you, if you don't mind.
No.
So it seems with the different themes that you were talking about, they're interrelated, and it seems. Well, my question is, do you have to have positive feedback to feel good about your interpreting work?
No, because obviously you want to hear what's wrong. I recently took what they call a Skippy test. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Sign language proficiency.
Right. So that was what happened was the person that I did it with, I was familiar with, and instead of waiting 2 weeks for feedback, I got it then and there, and it was the best feedback I think I've ever had, because right then and there it was explained to me things that I was doing wrong, the mistakes that I was making, and to go back and things that I could work on, straight away. I was like, it almost felt like an epiphany. Like, why couldn't I have been told this before? Way back, it probably would have helped me, a lot more. It was a good feeling to have that. This is what you're doing wrong. These are the things that you need to work on. And I was like, amazing, thank you very much. And it was good to get the feedback face to face instead of having something mouthed out to you. So it was good. That was a real good experience.
So with the feedback, again, you're going right to the feeling of how it made you feel. My question for you, with the feeling and with the feedback that you received, do you have the skills to really look at your work? Because you said, well, I didn't know that in the past. I wasn't told that in the past. Do you think maybe you weren't ready to receive that information in the past?
No, not at all. I'm one of these people that's definitely open to feedback, and I want to be told, this is what you're doing wrong. Work on this. I want that. I need that. It's silly to keep going on doing something that you think is right when everyone else knows what you're doing is wrong. I would prefer someone to tell me that, so I can correct it.
So why are you so focused on what's right and wrong?
Because I want my product to be better. I want to be an interpreter. I want to fix these issues, so I can do that.
So you're relying on other people to help you fix these issues? To tell you what you're doing wrong?
No, I'm definitely not relying on people. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure what I'm trying to express it, but yeah, no, I'm not, you know, requiring people, but you know, I would prefer it if someone sees a mistake. You know, not everyone's just going to throw it out there and say, "Hey, you made a mistake on that sign. It's not going to happen." So I have to try and take that on board.
Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between Lee analyzing his own work and another person telling you feedback? What benefits could you get from analyzing your own work and the feedback from another person?
Well, I mean, there's a huge benefit from someone else looking at your work, because you might not realize that you know your own mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, however, someone else more experienced, qualified, can probably see that automatically and say, "Look, this is what's right and this is what's wrong." So that would always, you know, that would benefit. That would be a benefit. I think it's more an advantage to have that.
So it seems you're relying on another person's opinion to tell you how you're doing.
Right, I guess, yeah.
And you feel that you don't trust your own opinion to analyze your work and to find some things that you're doing? You say that you're afraid that you might not recognize certain things, but if you have the tools to analyze your work, what's stopping you from being able to recognize or identify areas that you need to improve on? It seems that you have a strong grasp of what it is you want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess why is back to the same question, why is another person's opinion so vital for you to have?
Maybe it's just for clarification.
Mm-hmm. So you're moving from the gut to the mind now. You're saying clarification. Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by clarification?
Maybe it's just that, like, second opinion, whereas maybe you know in yourself that you're correct, or if you know you've done something wrong, usually you can pick up on that pretty much. But yeah, I guess maybe for clarification that you're second guessing yourself. Was that wrong? Another person can look at the product, and say, "Hey, look, this is my opinion. I think I did this wrong. What's your perspective, or what's your opinion?" And then, if you know, again, like you say, it's kind of like a guttural feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and sometimes you do want that clarification just by getting that opinion or asking for that opinion.
So are you lacking, because what I'm hearing, the overall theme, is that you want somebody else to tell you that you're doing it right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now that relates to self-esteem. It goes back
Right.
to a feeling rather than a cognitive perspective of, let's analyze the work, let's talk about the work. Where are there areas that need improvement? Where are areas that need to be refined? Where are positive areas that you're really working on? So it still seems that you're relying on another person to tell you those things when you already know those things, and you just want that feel good opinion to say, yeah, I'm a good interpreter. But it's not necessarily about the feeling, it's about what you can do with your own work, how you look at it, how you can analyze it, and really develop activities to improve those skills. Somebody else telling me, "Rob, you're an amazing interpreter." What's amazing about it?
Right.
"You're an amazing interpreter" is judgmental. That doesn't give me any feedback to do whatever I did again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So often we can, I mean, even the biases and the judgments that you're afraid of from other people, it seems that you're having a lot of, you're apprehensive with what you're producing. which
Right.
is getting in your way of interpreting.
Yeah.
How do you build your confidence with interpreting?
I get, well, putting yourself in a position where you're not in your comfort zone,
Okay.
that could, that could definitely help. Um, or maybe something else that just kind of like popped up in my head where, again, it was on the cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I already said this to you when I interpreted for the older deaf person
Mm-hmm.
on the table with a certified interpreter.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, that was hard work for me. However, I did come away with an experience that I didn't give up. I carried on with it. I got through it. It might not have been the best interpreting I had ever done, but there was I'm glad I did it, even though it was uncomfortable at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't take that away and say, I wished I had never done that. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it.
So you walked away with a learning experience.
Exactly, yes.
Do you feel that sometimes we have to make mistakes to learn?
Definitely.
And do you feel sometimes it's more of a statement. Sometimes we have to be vulnerable to learn.
Yes.
And if we make mistakes, but we don't look at it and ask why, and we just say, well, I made a mistake, we're not going to learn. But when we look at it and say, but why did this happen? And that goes to the cognitive level. We stay away from, I stinked, I sucked, I'm no good, I'm lousy, people are judging me. We go to the why.
Yeah.
And once we figure out the why, what's the likelihood of that occurring again?
I mean, it's going to happen, but you'll be able to handle it better.
So you're human.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, out of every experience that I've never come away with like, God, I suck. I've never felt that low. I've always come away with a positive. Well, you did this. You've learned from it, and now you have to go. You can go ahead and improve on that. So there is. I've always come away with, oh damn it, I wished I'd done this or that. But in hindsight, there was always. I'm glad they happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did learn from it.
And how does that help you with your future interpreting?
Really, I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't worry about what other people think. For sure. I mean, it is what it is.
What do you mean it is what it is?
There's always going to be a judgment from someone, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what's going on in other people's minds.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling me that some people may not even have a judgment, that you think they have a judgment?
I mean, everyone does to a certain degree, whether it's good or bad. Whether it's voiced or opinionated is something else. Could be kept inside, but yeah, I mean, I've made judgments of people. It happens,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just something that we live with, or we have to live with. So
So you're constantly thinking of other people's judgments. How is that affecting your process?
I just feel sometimes that I'm not on everyone else's level. it feels that I've always been trying to